This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome back, everybody. Technical difficulties have now been overcome. We are resuming the regular meeting of the Rhome City Council, October 28th, 2021. It is now 7:06 p.m. on the thing. So, anybody, well, we've got a group coming in. We're going to hold on just a minute for them to get seated. We are glad to get this much response tonight. We have a whole room full of people, and that is wonderful. Okay, we're going to ask Minister Roy Deaver to come forth and do our invocation.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are indeed thankful for the many ways you so richly bless us all. We know that every good and perfect gift, every blessing comes from you. It is you that gives us the ability to think and to reason and to plan, and the ability to earn a livelihood. As we begin this meeting tonight, we're thankful for this body and for their ability to guide and to govern our city. We pray your blessings upon each one of them. Bless them with wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and sound judgment as they make decisions which impact every citizen of our community. Father, as you bless our community with growth in the future moving forward, we pray that those who come our way will be able to enjoy a life of peace and tranquility, as well as a measure of health and prosperity sufficient for our times. We pray, Father, that the leaders of our community, our state, and our nation will look to you for guidance and to govern by your eternal principles, so that there may be integrity in leadership, harmony in the community, unity in our nation, and peace in the world. Through Jesus we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Roy. We appreciate it. Sean, you want? Josh, you want to lead the Pledge of Allegiance to both flags?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we're going to go for public presentation and input. Cynthia, do you do that or Shannon? Shannon?
Ma'am, I have two that have signed up for me to read their statements. I'll start with the first one, and it was Miss Deborah Beecraft. And since you have changed the executive session to 6 p.m. with the public part being 7 p.m. or immediately following, you have made it very difficult for the public. Are you really trying to make it impossible for the public to attend council meetings? Now, the public will not know when the council meetings start. It could be 7 or 6:30 or 7:30, or in the cases when executive session has lasted 3 hours, it might not start till 9 p.m. You are elected and hired to run the city, but for the citizens. You are supposed to be running the city and making policy that will benefit the citizens, for the citizens. So how does this benefit the citizens? When the executive session was at the end of the council meeting, people could leave if it ran too long. I think you are doing a great disservice to the citizens by making it more difficult for them to attend. I know you don't like hearing from those who don't agree with you, but it is the right of every citizen to be heard, and yet you have finally found a way to make it extremely difficult for a citizen to know when to show up. They could be there for hours before the meetings start or to phone in. The call-in cuts you off after a time, and you have to keep calling back and it will end up missing parts of the meeting. Please rethink what you are doing and make this about the citizens. Another suggestion is attend a Boyd Council meeting. They have found an efficient way to hold effective and shortened meetings. Maybe we can model ours after them. The second one is from Lisa Ann Wilson. Council members are elected by citizens and should not only show up for council meetings, but be responsible and diligently visit all areas of the city and look out for all citizens. The mayor, who is also elected by citizens, is to be available to hear and look out for citizen concerns and not just to sign checks. Social media has been saturated with statements by current council members concerning conditions in our city buildings. These comments are deplorable. I find these statements ludicrous and outrageous. These individuals making these statements have served a council member and or mayor for the past several years, with a couple of exceptions. Why have these same individuals not done their due diligence to maintain public buildings? And if the current exterminator is not doing what is needed, call a new one. Why has this just now been brought to the attention of citizens and smeared all over social media? Could it be because of an impending election? These same individuals who have not done their due diligence now claim it would be their legacy to have new buildings as they attempt to push the 3 bonds through and saddle the city with 40 years of additional taxes. Let us stop playing the blame game. Pare down the cost to a reasonable amount. Question the professionals. What is their share of the pie? Let people know that although the tax rate for the city may be frozen for veterans, disabled, and over 65, their taxes may go up if their property valuation increases. I, as many who find it offensive to think that those who may vote against the bonds and subsequent debt do not support the fire and police. We certainly do, and have many friends who are first responders and peace officers, currently and in the past. Yes, I back the red and blue. Want versus needs. Our first responsibility should be the West Side Sewer Facility, which is in bad need of repair. The city is planning a revenue-producing bond of approximately $5 million, which is not voted on by the citizens, but only the city council. This is a need, not a want. Why force a park and buy well when it appears the citizens do not want it? Wouldn't the money be better spent on crumbling streets and potholes? Misinformation out there regarding 0% interest rate and that the money would also pay off existing bonds. There is no such plan. Current bonds and debt stands on their own, and their payment schedule will not change. Quit playing the blame game and step up to the plate and work together for the good of Rome, and not for someone's legacy. Please, sitting council members, and do not saddle our town with more debt than we are already in. Please stop overspending, and from a city standpoint, live within your means and quit obsessing about leaving a legacy. There are other options available. Thank you. That is all I have that have emailed me in. Cynthia, did anybody turn anything in at the meeting?
Did we have anybody that filled out a public comment? I don't have any up here that wanted to speak for public comment. I see no hands. Okay. Nope. So we'll move right along. Did Shannon say something? Shannon.
I just said we're done with the public presentation.
Okay, we are done. I'm having trouble hearing her with public presentations and input. We're going to go now to announcements from myself and the council members. But before we do that, we have a guy sitting over here in a white shirt. We're going to give a shout out to his efforts for fire prevention training at Prairie View Elementary. Thank you. I think you had a lot of happy kiddos in there. So we do appreciate it, sir. And City of Rome events. Y'all got a long piece of paper and a pencil. Friday, October the 29th is the last day for early voting. Saturday, October 30th dumpster days, 8 a.m. to full. And what I'm hearing, they fill up pretty quick. So you might want to get up early that day. Sunday, October 31st, trunk or treat at the fire station from 6 to 8 p.m. Chief, are we having drive-through more or less, or is it showing up? Okay, so yeah, so probably drive-through and walk up. Monday, November the 1st, is our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 6 p.m. here in this building. Tuesday, November the 2nd, that is Election Day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Then we move on to Friday, November the 5th. Chief Fitch is involved again. His guys are going to be out for a boot drive on Friday the 5th and Saturday the 6th. Remember these guys and what all they do for us. Tuesday, November the 9th, we have monthly bulk trash pickup. So you can set your bulk trash out by your regular trash, and 99% chance it's going to be picked up. They will not pick up loose limbs, that kind of stuff, but if it's contained in some manner, they will pick it up. Or if it's just one object on the thing. November the 11th, the hardworking people at City Hall in the city get a day off in observance of Veterans Day. And then Monday, November the 15th, we have our one and only council meeting for this month of November. And the reason for this is we have certain time limitations and things that have to be done relative to the election. And we're going to do that on November the 15th and have a special council meeting. So mark your calendars and be there. And on November the 13th, I don't know where that gentleman is, can't see him, the police chief is having a coffee with the cops. I see him, he's hiding back there. So it's going to be at the Rhome Donut Shop and from 8:30 to 10:30. So try to mark your calendar to do that. And then we move to November the 11th. We're having Veterans program in the Veterans Park, a parade and a program. The Rhome Veterans then will also sponsor craft and stuff at the Boyd meeting by the school and their, I guess it's called their community center. So they'll be over there. And Heavenly Days, I have nothing else, but Elaine has some.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought a document with me, and I'm just going to read a couple of short paragraphs out of here. There's been some confusion about the ownership of the city's property, namely all of the school, former school buildings. And I'd just like you to know that the City Council did do their due diligence search before there was any action taken regarding these buildings. But it needs to be clear to the community that our city attorney, Carbon Adkins, also checked with legal counsel that it was outside of him, and his name is Mr. McAllister. He reviewed all the documents. He's engaged with the Wise County Title Company, and what he did was Mr. McAllister wrote a letter of his opinion, and his opinion is that there is no cloud on the city's title to the old school property. Then in addition to that, he went to yet another attorney, Larry Collister, who is a board certified in commercial and residential real estate law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization. And he reviewed all the documents, and in short, what he has written is a very letter that gives his pointed opinion about the fact that indeed there are no clouds to this title. In other words, the title is clear and belongs to the city. And so then finally, Mr. Adkins, on his in summary, goes on to say, in light of all the above, the city may sell the subject property free and clear. For any current liens, the city can use the property for any lawful purpose, including other than what the property is currently being used for, and the city can use the property as collateral to secure debt as otherwise authorized by law. This was not the first legal opinion. The first legal opinion also said the same thing, but we had this updated just to make sure, and so it's here if anybody cares to take a look at my copy. And so I just wanted everybody to know that we own it. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Any other council members have anything to say? Josh?
I just want to make a reminder that the Vfw Scholarship is due by the end of midnight Sunday night. So anybody in middle school or high school, if you're looking for up to $30,000 in scholarships, you can write a short paper, turn that in via the VFW or on their website. You can reach out to the local VFW. They'll help you out, make sure they get that submitted. So if you're looking for some extra money for school, check out the VFW site.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll move right on to our regular agenda and its recognition. We're going to recognize Officer Rex Ritchie, and Chief DeVusk will take care of that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could get Officer Soltaire, Officer Click, Officer Mark Moore to come up with us. Rachel, would you like to join us? So it is my extreme honor to recognize Officer Ritchie tonight and read this proclamation on behalf of the City Council. So I'll go ahead and do this. I did want our other officers up here to show the support for you and the extreme respect that we have for you and your efforts. So I don't make a mistake, I'm going to put my glasses on. Whereas Officer Rex Ritchie, badge number 335, began his career with the Rhome Police Department on May 24th, 2021, and whereas on June 13th, 2021, while in phase 2 of his field training program, Officer Ritchie was made aware of a possible wanted felony suspect on the loose north of Rhome, Texas. And whereas Officer Ritchie, with a duty to protect the citizens of Rhome, began a search for the suspect and was able to locate and stop the suspect on FM 407. And whereas while attempting to take the suspect into custody, a gun battle ensued, during which Officer Ritchie was struck by gunfire in the lower leg. And whereas Officer Ritchie, despite being wounded, continued to direct responding units to the area and was able to assist other officers in taking an additional suspect into custody. And whereas law enforcement officers courageously and unselfishly strive to ensure the safety and well-being of their fellow citizens, and whereas the people of the city of Rhome and the state of Texas are thankful for the brave individuals in law enforcement who consider the welfare of others a personal responsibility and work tirelessly to protect the lives and property of their fellow citizens. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Rhome, Texas, hereby express their heartfelt appreciation to Officer Rex Ritchie for his service and commitment to the citizens of Rhome, Texas, passed and approved by the City Council of the City of Rhome, Texas, this 28th day of October, 2021.
Our next item on here is another proclamation, and it actually applies to first responders. Our city administrator put all this together, and I'm taking away from it because I think we all appreciate our first responders. And I'd like to read this to every first responder that's here. These two guys in the corner, these guys back here, lady over here. We've got a lot of excellent first responders. It's a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Rhome, Texas, recognizing First Responders Appreciation Day. Whereas individuals, both career and volunteer, from public safety dispatchers, law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, search and rescue, and other organizations in the public safety sector come together as first responders to aid the public in the event of an emergency. And whereas first responders risk their own safety and personal property in the execution of their duties to protect the public every day. And whereas first responders are the first line of defense for the public against all threats, both domestic and foreign. And whereas first responders are a vital part of our communities, standing ready 24 hours a day to deal with emergencies and volunteering in our schools and community organizations. Now the City of Rome City Council hereby proclaims October the 28th, 2021 as First Responder Appreciation Day in recognition of the values and accomplishments of all our emergency first responders. The Council encourages all residents to join in the observance in support of first responders' continued service and dedication to the City of Rome. Passed and approved by the City Council of the City of Rome this 28th day of October 21. We appreciate all you guys. Now discussion and any necessary action regarding the 2021 second and third quarter Shine Awards. Remember, we've had a pandemic, so we're running a little late, but the city administrator has put all this together and she'll make the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. We have we have an employee relations committee together, and we do a Shine Award on a quarterly basis. And a Shine Award is an acronym. It stands for sincerity, which is commitment to public service; honesty, they build trust; integrity, they hold to high standards; neighborly, they're helpful, friendly, and kind; and excellence, they hold to high quality service and attitude. So we really want to, that's our standard here at the City of Rome, and we want to recognize those employees that go above and beyond with these Shine Awards. We are a little bit behind, so we are going to do the the second quarter and the third quarter. So we have our employees nominate these, and then they, we have a process to for the awardees. And so for the second quarter awardee, I'm going to call Jesus Rodriguez up, and I'm going to have his boss come up. And this is probably going to be on the board. Come up. Chief Davis tasked them with organizing the National Night Out. They did a phenomenal job. I think maybe some of you guys were out there. But this is what Chief Davis wanted to nominate them, and they were awarded, both of them, for their efforts in that in the National Night Out for October 2021. It was an awesome event. National Night Out, as we know, is an event that occurs that partners the police with the community and is held across the United States each year. This year, Administrative Assistant Rachel Barnard and Detective Aaron Soltaire were asked to take a leadership role in coordinating the event. Working together as a team, Barnard and Soltaire began soliciting donations from the community. With the economic in a downturn because of COVID, not as much money was able to be raised from the donations. However, even with this limitation, the event that was held was a resounding success. Several law enforcement agencies participated, food was served to all attendees, and entertainment consisted of a bounce house, music, and a traveling magician. Feedback from the community was positive in every respect, and there was quite a bit of talk about it being the best national night out that Rome has ever had. So we commend Rachel and we commend Aaron for their effort and their commitment to make this such a successful event, putting the police department in a positive light, as you guys always do. We just, he wanted to let you know that he appreciates them, but we all appreciate you at the city and what you all do. Thank you. Okay, wait, we're going to get a picture. Let's stay for a picture.
Thank you guys, especially for your attitude. It shows each and every day, and we do appreciate you guys. We're going to move now to the consent agenda. And it's relative to the minutes of the City Council regular session dated October the 14th. It's attached in your packet if you have one. And do I hear a motion that we accept the minutes of the council? We had a motion and a second. And Shannon, you want to call for the vote from there, or you want us to do it?
Before we go to the vote, I did not hear who. I'm sorry?
You want to call for the vote from where you are, or you want us to do it locally?
The connection from here all the way down here is not working.
Okay.
I didn't hear who made the motion.
Ashley made the motion, Elaine seconded. And Sam called for the vote.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, now we're going to move to our regular agenda, new business. Item 1, discussion in any necessary action regarding a change order request for the East Wastewater Plant construction project. City Administrator will address that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is the third change order. You've got that information in your agenda packet. There are basically three components to that. We do have our engineers here that can answer any questions regarding that. Sean can go through those if you would like. They are going, the total change order is for $69,443.93, and it will add an additional 69 calendar days. Essentially, just in short, the first item is the construction of an enclosed building versus a covered canopy, and this is to protect the equipment from severe weather. We know what kind of situations we had, like the recent freeze. We called what, snow power Snowmageddon, whatever that was called. The second component of this is to meet TCEQ requirements to cover the sludge roll-off bin. So the height of the cover adds 8 inches to the height of the roll-off bin. So to provide that additional clearance for the sludge conveyor, the incline of the conveyor belt needs to be raised. And the third component of that is that during construction, one of the existing influent lift station pumps failed due to the age and the needs to be replaced. So staff and engineers evaluated the situation. There's actually 3 pumps that are at the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. They're all aging. One is on its way out. So the recommendation is just to go ahead now and replace all 3 of those pumps and the necessary electrical components. Are there any questions on the item?
My apologies. We're looking at $70,000. It's not clear to me. This was already budgeted?
No, this is a change order. Now we do have, yes, the funds. It was a $2.6 million bond. The original contract amount was $1.808 million, and so this is going to. We had 2 change orders already. One was about almost $7,000, and one was $24,000, and this is the 3rd change order for almost $70,000. So after, and this again, we don't like change orders, so we have really worked with these engineers to say, hey, we're not going to have any more. This will be the last one. The project was scheduled to be done here shortly. Obviously, we're adding more time onto it with these, but it leaves with the construction administration cost and the revised contract amount. We probably have a balance of about $295,000, and as you remember, you guys have talked about using that balance of that bond for the clay pipes that feed into the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. So after all of this, there'll be $295,000 left to do that.
Okay, so this is not an additional $70,000 that that we need to come up with. I'm just making certain. I just want to be very clear. This is not an additional $70,000.
Well, it's included. I mean,
it's included in what we've already got.
We've already got the funding.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I make a motion we accept this.
And do I hear a second? Michelle, Councilman Michelle has offered a second. Okay, we're going to call for a vote. Everybody in favor? Anyone opposed?
I don't like change orders, so I'm not in favor.
Okay, we have 1 opposed, 4 for, so the motion goes forward. It's accepted. Okay, item J, if you have that on your agenda, mark that off. We'll be addressing that in November. All the details were not available. Okay, item K is discussion and potential action concerning the authority of a Rhome City Council member. Sam, that is you.
I'm just wanting to remind all the council members, if you're not in session, right, during a meeting, then you carry no authority. You can't go to anyone in the city, and you can't say do this because I'm on the council. You can't say do that because I'm on the council, because you'd then be abusing your authority. You put them in a very awkward position. When we make a decision, we have to make it as a group, the 5 of us. We have to make a motion. We have to, at least 3 have to vote for it. But the thing is, one person outside of a council meeting, we are citizens. That's all we are. We have no special privilege. We have no special authority. We're just citizens once this meeting's over. So you can't go talking to one of the department heads and say, I need you to look at this or do that. You can't, you have to let everybody do their jobs. We're just citizens outside of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to item L, discussion and necessary action regarding the installation of time clocks. Council Member Majors.
Yes, I'm bringing up that we should look into time clocks for employees, and that is all employees, not just hourly employees, but salary as well. Because bring it to our attention, they're working too many hours, the salary. So just to monitor when they're coming, when they're going, just to help maintain to see, so we're not overworking them. So, do you have something, Sean? Okay, you just know something. So just to see what we can do. It's just open for discussion. So what we can help with their PTO, to monitor that, just across the board. So looking at their employee handbook today that Cynthia sent over, but mostly it's for our salary employees. But that's what I just wanted to bring to the table for discussion.
Anybody with anything to add to that or discuss? And I think, Ashley, you would be open to compute, not just the old-fashioned time clock, some manner of keeping up. Elaine?
Well, there definitely, if monitoring and keeping records long term, that kind of thing, there are benefits. There are also things that are not benefits, and so I won't go into all of the details that but I can tell you that when you have time clocks and that's what you are using, sometimes you rob time that could be spent working. So let's just use Public Works. They come in the morning and they clock in. And then they go out and do any number of jobs. Are they going to have to come all the way back into town if they're working over at Bywell to punch out for lunch? And then eat lunch wherever that is and then punch back in so that they can go all the way back to Bywell? Well, that's travel time. That's mileage to go punch a clock. And so what we see in those instances is that there's a whole lot of not punching and writing in. I mean, I've seen that firsthand. So then there's still the question, how accurate is that if people are filling it in by hand? I think that this is something that we need to canvass our department heads about. How would that work in their departments? Are we going to have a time clock in every separate building? I mean, what is the expense for that? It also can be a tool that if anybody files a complaint and the Department of Labor comes in, you don't want those boys visiting you. I'm just telling you, they come to stay. And they will get into things that you never even imagined they would get into. And they will tell you maybe that somebody that you're paying by the hour needs to be an exempt employee, that maybe you've not done your homework on that, and vice versa. So I've seen some negative sides of that, but I do believe that if we are looking seriously at a different system than we currently have, then certainly I believe that needs to be department heads to give us their feedback, how that would affect their department, and how beneficial they might envision that to be. I don't think that those of us that are outside can understand the full complications that could cause us. So that would be my recommendation, that if we really want to investigate this as a possibility, I would be in favor of letting our department heads give us a lot of input on that and their opinions.
Sean, can we,
That looked good.
Departments, excuse me. So how it's done is we do have timesheets, and the employee is responsible for filling in that timesheet with their time. We hire department heads to make sure that they manage their departments, and so they are reviewing those timesheets every week, every 2 weeks, and daily. I mean, they're managing their employees. They turn them in to City Hall, and our city secretary reviews those timesheets. Once she reviews them, they come to me, and I review those timesheets. So they're getting 3 layers of review for the department head to ensure that they're managing their employees and making sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. City secretary from the technical side of it, and myself from looking at it from managing the department heads and making sure that those department heads are managing their employees. So I think the system that we have has a lot of checks and balances. They get reviewed, and it works well. If you're going to be looking at another system, you have to realize that you're also going to be looking at a cost that would be associated with whatever system that would be. If there is going to be a system, I mean, digital that's the way to go, but that's much more expensive. I've worked in cities, and I know how expensive those systems are. Yes, we would go out for bids and an RFP actually on that, because we're talking thousands of dollars, because it's got to integrate then into our financial software system. So I think I'm not sure what problem we're trying to fix, but I think from a management perspective, the department heads are managing, and City Hall on the technical side, the admin side is managing, and then I'm looking at them every 2 weeks, and I go through each one. So that I just want to let you know how we actually do it.
So I have a question then. You mentioned about that a lot of the time clocks now are digital. There's software. It integrates into the city's system. So the system that we have today, is that information then manually inputted into our software system? Is that how that works?
Yes.
So how much time do you think that takes?
Shannon, you can answer that question. I mean, actually entering it into STW, is certainly one component.
Just the entering of the time is very minimal in the entire payroll process. It's for me to input the information for all employees and then double check it. Takes about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Shannon, do you think it would be beneficial to have time clocks for department heads to?
Absolutely not.
department heads, we got 3 of y'all sitting here. I see somebody jumping up quickly. Yeah. There's a button somewhere.
Can you hear me? Okay.
That works.
Actually, I could yell loud enough, probably. I think there's a couple of things to consider here too. I'm not familiar with anybody salary-wise using a time card, so I think there's another aspect we got to look for as far as liability, and what kind of liability is the city taking on if their salary is required to do a time card. So that's something to look at there. But as far as fire, if you want me to do a time card, I'm punching in at midnight. I'm punching out at 12:30. I'm punching in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm punching out at 3:30. So it would be tough on the fire aspect to do a time card. Now, all my times are logged. Everything's logged in our software system, but it wouldn't be practical for a fire department. And even when we get to the point of starting to pay firefighters, if it's a shift type thing, I can understand. But if we're paying, volunteers moving into a pay system and we're doing it as an on-call type system or things like that, it's just not feasible for the fire department to do a time card system. But I think there might be some liabilities there we have to look at. But I think also that we can look at it and take a third step back and say, okay, what stuff are we really doing? And look at it on that concept of, is there some things getting in the weeds that we need to clean the weeds up? Are we getting asked to do things that are taking us away from our positions and away from us as department heads that we need to look at to say, hey, are we spending 2 or 3 hours a week of doing stuff that we shouldn't have to do? And the city administrator does a great job on weeding out a lot of that to keep it from us so we can do our jobs. But I think we have to be careful in making sure that we're looking at that, to making sure that we're optimizing our time properly and not getting those 3 or 4 hours a week to where, we're checking this or checking that when that's not the responsibility of the department head, or it's taking time away from us from doing our job. It's just some thoughts.
Thank you so much, because now you're putting it into perspective that because some of you are working a lot of hours, that's the reason why it's on the agenda, to try to see, where you're not working 100 hours.
Well, I think it goes back. I think it goes back to what I'm saying, though.
Yes, sir.
I think sometimes we're being asked to do things that's almost either repetitive or false information that we're having to weed through. And so we're spending that extra time.
Right.
But I don't think you want to get caught up into time clocking your salary employees.
Well, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
It helps. So at least it's on there and we can all discuss it and get it off. So.
Okay. Chief, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, well, we do ours, and we do have the paper system. But like when the guys take time off, we use our Outlook calendars, and so
You use what?
our Outlook calendars, and so every one of my employees have an Outlook email,
Okay.
and that's how we track our time for time off and all that stuff. But also, we know when we show up here, everybody is a supervisor here at 3:30. We manage our lunchtime. And so it's just, like 25 years I've never clocked in. So
Okay. It could be a new experience.
yeah, no,
I mean,
could be a new experience. It's just, I think you get into the issue. I know there's some laws and all that stuff where if you do start, you might have to end up paying overtime to salary employees.
Right.
And so do you want the extra monetary issues? Then if you go back and start time, you could have former employees come back and say, okay, my old time pay me for extra time that I did work.
Yeah.
So there are some issues that you have to look at that you actually might have to start paying salary employees overtime. Do we want that in our budgetary, we struggle as a budget as it is. Do we want that extra burn on our budgets? I mean, that's general fund will then have to increase, and that will also be increasing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but as we manage our time. We use us. We try to make sure that we don't overwork or underwork our guys, and so,
Okay. Chief?
Sean, you talk about have to pay them overtime. When I worked for Lockheed with the Department of Defense, all of our contracts would get billed directly to the government, and we got paid by the 10th of an hour, but it was not that we were paid by the 10th of an hour, we billed the government for every 10th of an hour. And even though we were salaried exempt meaning we didn't have to punch a clock, the fact that there was a record of how many hours the Federal Labor Relations Board required that we were paid time and a half for everything over 40 hours. So if I work 40 hours and 12 minutes, that meant I got paid 12 minutes at time and a half. Okay? So
And so your point here is if you're an exempt employee and you're punching a time card, you set yourself up to pay overtime.
And it too is a lot of us, even after we go home, still work by answering emails, phone calls. And so are we going to be punching in at home too and collecting those wages? Same way with my hourly employees. They answer phone calls, and maybe stay 10, 15 minutes over. Are we going to start paying them every nickel and dime? I mean, because that's what we're going to end up having to do. I mean, if you want to get off in the weeds, because then you'll have a documentation that they're going to say, okay, I stayed 10 minutes over, so we're going to have to start paying people 10 minutes over. So, I mean, it's just, the system we have now is effective. I mean, we do have checks and balances. And again, you're looking at possibly increasing maintenance of the clocks and time clocks and digital stuff like that. And then, again, increasing budget. We struggle as a budget as is. So, I mean, I can get off into the budget discussion very easily. So
I would also suggest that if we have hourly employees and they do work that 10 minutes or that 15 minutes, we need to pay them that overtime. Because there is a record, because they've been on the phone, they've been working. The Department of Labor comes in here and they find that kind of stuff. They will audit everything this city has ever done that they can never get their hands on. And so that's what an hourly employee is paid by the hour. And what I've looked up lately, it's in 15-minute increments now. And if an employee works 8 minutes, they get paid for 15. If they work 7 minutes, they don't get paid that 15. That's the cutoff there. And so if somebody's an hourly employee, we have to be diligent about that, yes, even though it is a written and not a punched card.
To manage our overtime right now, because especially the storm, and stuff like that, we've had to send people home, and been shorthanded 24 hours per guy a week, and that shorthands us out here. And so we have to be careful on if we want to increase that number to our department overall. Again,
well, just to be clear, I just want to make sure, because we do, hourly employees are paid overtime when they work overtime. And so the department heads are watching that. That's one of the things I'm looking at. We're looking at that. You guys have budgeted overtime. He's going to get up here in a minute and talk about it, but you've budgeted extra dollars for overtime for PD. It's up to that department head to manage that, and it's up to me to make sure that they do. But hourly employees definitely get paid overtime, but sometimes we have to, because we have an overtime budget. Mine at the city hall is very small, so there's not a whole lot that they do beyond the hours other than cover parks board or attend a council meeting. And when they do, by and large, what I'm trying to do is give them, then they're flexing that time, so that I'm managing that overtime budget, which for me is very small. It's $500 annually.
We also flex our overtime too, like I said. It becomes a burden.
So I'm not sure, are we talking about department heads strictly, or are we talking about rank and file employees as well?
I'm just trying to take care of all employees. So
Okay.
That's where this whole thing started.
So all employees, if they work overtime, they are paid time and a half.
Yes.
And it goes through a process whereby they report their hours. The sergeant would approve that in lieu of, without a sergeant, then I approve it after the sergeant, or in his place. And then it goes to City Hall, where they also look it over. I take pride in the fiscal conservatism that I practice. I really appreciate what the citizens do for us, and I created I'm trying to stress a culture over there of making sure we only ask for what we really need. As far as a department head clocking in I didn't take this job thinking I would work 40 hours a week. I can't do this job 40 hours a week. That's not possible. I represent the city of Rome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If my phone rings at 3 in the morning, I answer it. If an email comes in, I look at it in the morning, I respond if it needs to be responded to. I take texts 24/7 from my officers and citizens alike, which is kind of neat because I've gotten to know quite a few of the citizens by name and by face, and in the short time I've been here, I've been able to meet people, get to know them. But I don't know how I would clock in and out when I'm always on duty all the time. So I appreciate the concern, but I work to get the job done. I don't consider, now I'm okay. My wife and I are good. I mean, I appreciate that. But when I need to take some time to be with family, we certainly do that. But I can't do this job in 40 hours. It's not possible.
And I just also want to add, I know some of my guys and some other employees in the city have seen this on agenda, and they feel like maybe micromanaging, and so there is some guys and gals that feel like they're being micromanaged, and it could cause morale issues too, because somebody wants to put their thumb on them because they don't trust them, and it becomes a trust issue too. So you also got to look at that as like, you're not trusting your employees to do their job and clock in and manage their time right. Is it more of I'm going to get you? That's what some people think. It's a micromanaging type thing. So you have to also look at it as a morale issue too, that you're not trusting your employees.
And I agree with Sean. Many years ago, I used to have to punch time clock. I would come in the back door of the place I worked, had to go through my boss's office and go to the time clock. Well, he would stop me for go do this or that, would you go do this or that? Then I had to go punch the time clock. Then I was punching in late, so I'd have to take the card back and say, it's your fault, sign here, It's demoralizing, on the thing. But I know where Ashley's coming from too. Are we doing our fair due? And it sounds like you guys certainly are on the thing. And
Well,
Cynthia doesn't count as a guy, but she
No,
is.
I'm glad that we discussed it. I just want to make sure I'm the one on the budget that want to make sure that the insurance that we were getting, we were making sure the insurance, so the reviews that they were getting what they were needed. So I want to make sure that across the board that whatever we can do to where we're paying the correct, that they're working the right amount hours, whatever it is. I want to make sure our employees are taken care of. We are what we can pay are the salaries. I wish we could pay everybody, more. So that's all I want to do is put it on there. We could discuss it. So thank y'all so much for your input. And
I just want to say one more thing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
there is a point, that Chief Fitch made. And so if we're talking about salaried folks, when you start, logging those times, then you're going to be spending a whole lot more money. And even for salaried folks, that is demoralizing as well, because I can tell you as a city administrator and as the public works director and as the fire chief and the city secretary and the police chief, these guys go above and beyond. And if they were, if you're going to say, okay, you can only work 40 hours, you guys are going to have to hire a whole lot more people because we're all the department heads and myself. Essentially we're on call 24/7, and I think the system that we have works well. They're managing there's not a problem. They're managing their budgets. If there is a problem, we address it. But honestly, there hasn't been. These guys are doing their job and they're managing their folks well, and I think it's working well.
I do think that, Ashley's point here is she wants to make sure everybody is being treated fairly, especially related to what they get paid. And that is the other side of things. And so her interest is a positive thing here. And so if you don't mind, I just want to be sure that everybody understands it's not to micromanage. What she's about in this conversation. It is all about a healthy working relationship and everybody getting what they deserve and what they've been hired to do and getting paid properly. But at the same time, that information that we take helps us know when it's time we need to hire somebody else in addition to the staff that we have. This kind of information then tells us when overtime becomes very much needed and it's there all the time, then it's time then to look at bringing on another employee that's not getting paid. And we have to make room for that because, the packages is overhead and benefits and all those kind of things. And those things cost as much as the salary anymore. And so but it does, and it is an indicator then to our supervisory staff and the mayor and the city council that it's time to do that. And so that's another reason that record keeping that you keep is important for us. It lets us know when we need to be ready for that growth.
Well, and just to that point, we are managing our staffs, and one of the things that I've asked, and I think I've told some folks this, but one of the things that I've asked the department heads to do is start doing job inventories, because we do need to let you know what we're doing, how many hours we spend doing what. While we have job descriptions, there's always that, and anything that, needed to get the job done. We are a small city. We are growing. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes to keep the city running, and we want to be able to let you guys understand when it is that time to hire a new person. And so we're doing that evaluation right now. It's been ongoing, and that's going to help me analyze things to give information to you so you all can make good budgetary decisions when it comes time to look at staffing.
Okay, if we have nothing else, I hate to tell y'all this, we're going to reconvene into executive session again. We purposely cut it short since we had so many people here for awards and stuff. So you're certainly all welcome to stay for it, but we are going to reconvene back into executive session, and then we will return to a regular meeting.
You need to read the paragraphs?
The
again?
paragraph that we had earlier still applies. It's the same executive session, Sam.
This conference will now be recorded.
It is now 9:14 on Thursday, October the 28th. We are reconvening into regular session after we have completed the executive session. We have two things. One thing we need to vote on is to accept Shannon Montgomery, City Secretary's resignation. Do I hear a motion in a second? I'm sorry, do what? Okay, Shannon, did you want to say something? Is that what you...
Before the motion, yes, I just wanted to briefly thank staff and council for the opportunities given to me during my tenure with the city of Rome. I'm going to miss working with Cynthia, who I consider a mentor, and the amazing department head and employees. Thank you very much.
And do I hear a motion that we accept her resignation? Elaine has made the motion, a second by Ashley. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved, the motion passed. Shannon, you can leave now on Wednesday, November the 3rd. We appreciate your service. The second thing we've got on the agenda is we have completed with the council a formal evaluation of the city administrator. And we will get back to you after probably the 15th of November to finalize all that. Does anybody have any items for the next meeting, which is, again, remind you, one meeting in November? It is November 15th.
Yeah, I'd like to put on the next agenda HR investigation.
Can you be more specific?
Executive session HR investigation.
So just an HR investigation. No more specifics. Okay, we'll see what we can come up with. Anybody else?
Nope, I've already given Cynthia mine for the appraisal of the land here
Okay.
at the old school.
Anybody else with anything? I hate to ask this, but do I hear a motion that we adjourn? Elaine quickly got her hand up and Sam seconded it, so I'll call for a vote. Everybody in favor? It is now 9:17 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.